From the News Channel 5 network, this is Sportsline.
Hey there, Titans Talk on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on News Channel 5. Plus, Titans go down on Sunday to the Browns in a wild game at Nissan Stadium. It was a disastrous start for the Titans. They got down 17-0. Then it was 24-7. It ultimately was 38-7 at the half. Cleveland scored its most points in a first half in franchise history. Baker Mayfield threw 4 touchdown passes in the first half alone. But the Titans didn't pack it in. Some people thought they should have at halftime and just rest some of the starters and get ready for next week. To their credit, they stuck with it. They came out in the second half and they played much better. Ryan Tannehill ends up throwing for 389 yards, 3 touchdowns himself. Corey Davis with a monster day. 11 receptions, 182 yards, both career highs. And the Titans come back and outscore the Browns 28-3 in the second half. They actually got within 41-35 in the final minute of the game. They, of course, could not get the onside kick, and that is how it ended. So a valiant comeback in the second half, but how it got to that place was just a really ugly first half. And unfortunately for the Titans, that is a bit of a trend. They're 8-4 now, and in 3 of those 4 losses, all ironically against AFC North teams, the Steelers, the Bengals, and then Sunday against the Browns. Their offense has just been out of rhythm from the beginning of the game, and that has led to a double-digit first half deficit. Now, in all 3 games, the Titans rallied in the second half. Against Pittsburgh, they came all the way back and had a shot to tie it in the final minute when Stephen Gostkowski missed a field goal right. That was their first loss of the season. In Cincinnati, they got back within 11, nearly got an interception. I think did get an interception, but it was nullified because of a pass interference that I thought was fraudulent at the time. But that would have put them in position to potentially get a score to get within 3 or 4 with 4 or 5 minutes left to go in the game in Cincinnati. And then Sunday, you come back from 38-7 down, just a monumental deficit, and get back within 6. Now, too little, too late. There are no moral victories in the NFL. But when you look at the history of the NFL, in those types of games, when you're talking about a team that's up by 30 at the half, I mean, no one loses in that situation. It just hasn't happened. But not only that, very rarely, only a handful of times, has a team ever come back and made it a single-digit game. And that's what the Titans were able to do. But again, it's not about making it close. This is a team that's trying to win the AFC South for the first time in a dozen years. They just come off their best 2 performances of the season at Baltimore with a win, then at Indianapolis, the payback game that put them in first place all alone once again in the AFC South as they try to capture that division crown. And then you come out at home like that. It was a really mystifying first half effort and a frustrating performance for the Titans. Give them credit for sticking with it. But now all the margin for error is gone. There are 4 games left in the NFL season. We're at the quarter pole, if you will, if it was a horse race. And the Titans are right there. They're in a great position to win the division and get a home playoff game for the first time in a dozen years. But they have to have more consistent performances. It cannot look like it did against Cleveland on Sunday. It can't look like it did in Cincinnati a few weeks ago. For some reason, this was a trademark that I think you could say about Mike Vrabel teams in the first couple of years, that they just didn't have those sort of head-scratching dud performances. They lost at times. They were beaten at times. But there were very few games, at least late in the season, where you looked out there and just said, who is that team and what are they doing right now? And that, unfortunately, is what you saw Sunday against the Browns. Can they fix that? Absolutely. Can they finish strong? Sure, I expect them to. That's what this team has been known for under Mike Vrabel. That's what they did a year ago. But it's got to be different than it was on Sunday. And the key to that, to me, has to start with the offense. And it's hard to put a lot of blame on a team or a group that's putting up 30 points a game and one of the elite offenses in the league. And even Sunday, they end up scoring 35 points. But here's the bottom line. This defense isn't very good. We've talked about that the entire year on this show. This is just not a very good defense, given the changes from last year, given some of the injuries and all of that. And so you cannot count on them to slow the opposing team down for the entire course of the game. They're going to give up yards. They're going to give up points. And so with that being the case, the margin for error is gone. And the offense has to play well all the time, or this team's going to be in trouble. They're going to face a big-time uphill battle against anybody they play, because ultimately it's the National Football League, and these teams are all good. They all get paid. Everybody out there is a solid player. Even the Jaguars this weekend, who are 1-11. Look, that was a tight game the first time around, way back in week 2. The Jags have played just about everybody close. They've come up short, but they've played just about everybody close. So if you aren't ready for that game on Sunday, you're going to get a rude awakening in Jacksonville. The Titans have to have that offense clicking from the start, which means they've got to run the ball effectively on first down, they've got to stay ahead of the chains, and they've got to do what they do best. Sunday, there was none of that in the first half. And then you throw in the turnovers and the penalties, just compounded the issue. That cannot happen. And so that's where they are. It's eliminated the margin for error for the offense because, frankly, the defense, and let's throw in the special teams, though they've been better the last couple of weeks, they're not great. They're not great units. They're not beating the other team very often in those phases. So it is all about the offense on this team. And this offense is very, very good. Very good. But you're relying on them to be great week in and week out because of the deficiencies in the other areas. So you've eliminated the margin for error there, and you've eliminated the margin for error in the division. Because when you look at the standings, the Titans are still in first place technically. They're tied with the Colts at 8-4. They have the tiebreaker right now because they have a better record within the division. So they have a 65% chance of winning the AFC South, which is the goal, to get that home playoff game. So that's all fine. But here's the thing. While the schedule doesn't look that bad, 3 of the 4 games are on the road. One of them's in Green Bay against a very good team on probably a very frigid night. 2 of them are division games, both on the road. Both against teams that you're better than, but you went right down to the wire against them in your first meetings. So while on paper it looks like the schedule's good, there are some challenges left out there for the Titans, just like there are for the Colts. And this team has to play well because they need to win the division, not just for the fact that that's been the goal for the entire season and they want to have that chance to play at Nissan Stadium in the playoffs. But when you look at the AFC right now, there are a ton of teams with 7 wins or more. You know, the Chiefs are running away with the West, but the Raiders are right there. They're 7-5, and they have a favorable schedule down the stretch with home games that could help them get to 10-6 pretty easily. Titans and Colts, both at 8-4 in the AFC South. AFC North, you've got the Steelers who finally lost yesterday, but they're 11-1. You've got the Browns who are now 9-3, and you have the Ravens who are playing tonight against the Cowboys. If they win that, they're at 7-5. And then in the East, you've got the Bills at 9-3 after their win last night. You've got the Dolphins at 8-4. They've got a very tough stretch down, or schedule down the stretch, but they're already 8-4. Go 2-2, you're 10-6. And even the Patriots, look out for them. Bill Belichick has that team playing well. They're 6-5 right now, or 6-6 right now, excuse me, but a schedule down the stretch with the possibility to make a run. So if you're the Titans, look, all is not lost off of one game. This is the NFL, and that happens. But the margin for error is gone. If you want to win the division, you've got to go play. You've got to go win games. You've got to play better than you did. And if you don't, very soon the margin for error for just getting in the playoffs is going to be gone. That's where the Titans are right now after this game on Sunday. Want to hear from you tonight. 737-7767 is the number. Call us up. Your thoughts on the game Sunday against the Browns. Your thoughts on where the Titans go from here now as they get set for a trip to Jacksonville this coming Sunday, noon kickoff on News Channel 5. Let's begin tonight on the phones, and we say hello to Sylvia. Sylvia, welcome to Titans Talk.
Hello.
Hey there, you're on the air.
Yes, I am so proud to say I'm really proud of the Titans, and they're doing a great job. I love to watch the game. I'm 73 years old, but I'm a great football fan, and I think you all have some of the most wonderful players in the world. Keep up the good work. I would like to see you all go to the Super Bowl, and I will pray for you.
All right. Thanks, Sylvia. We appreciate that call, and I'm sure they appreciate the cheers and the prayers in this season. We all could use some prayers in 2020, can't we? But the Titans, obviously, they've dealt with injuries. They've dealt with adversity. They dealt with the COVID scare early on in the season. Now they've got a bit of adversity here in December, and this has been a month, frankly, over the last couple of years with Mike Vrabel. They've owned this month. They've played really well down the stretch. Now, Sunday was a hiccup. Can they get off the mat from that and do what they need to do down the stretch? Because frankly, I think the Titans are as good. Well, frankly, I think the Titans are better than 3 of the 4 remaining teams. And I think they're every bit as good as the Packers. On a neutral field, I like the Titans' chances against the Packers, frankly. But you got to go to Lambeau. That makes it more difficult. But I think anything less than 3-1 in these final 4 is going to be pretty darn disappointing for the Titans. And like I said, all of a sudden that makes things really interesting. When you start talking about the division, certainly, with the Colts right there on your heels, and maybe even in the AFC picture. So, important games coming up for the Titans. Important phone calls that we can get to on the program tonight if you want to join. Get your thoughts in. What did you think about that loss on Sunday to the Browns? What do you think about this stretch run ahead of the Titans? Biggest concerns out there right now that you have about the Titans? Want to hear it all. 737-7767 is the number. We'll get to that. We'll get to analysis from Jonathan Hutton, John Burton's post-game reports as well. All that coming up here on Titans Talk on News Channel 5+.